Cancer is a process that has always affected animals. It is just as common in domestic and farm animals, birds and fishes as it is in humans. Western scientific medicine has been effective in minimizing infectious diseases. Many of us are living longer, and cancer has almost been accepted as a normal feature of the aging process. But statistics do not bear this out. The incidence of cancer is increasing in all age groups. Because cancer cells take some time to grow to a stage where they are a large enough mass to be identifiable, it might be 18 months to 3 years, even 30 years before the disease is diagnosed by a doctor. By then we can be more than halfway down the path to a terminal illness. Due to our psychological makeup, we are often immobilized by the news. We tend to minimize it or deny that it has happened to us. We get depressed. Why me? A cycle of immobilization, minimization, depression often occurs. Those who do break out of it and manage to accept the reality start testing for options, often against the clock, find out that cancer is an awesome and complex subject, providing a great example of opening a whole can of worms. Information overload, specialist language, ignorance of alternatives, vested interest, lack of cooperation, paradigm gaps, lack of access to specific information or treatment, and a host of barriers such as languages translation exist that prevent understanding the problem, let alone the latest research. Since an allopathic doctor, Western surgical doctor, is generally the first point of contact for this disease, cancer is mostly treated only with chemotherapy, radiotherapy, surgery, and more recent biological breakthroughs in hormone treatment. Despite billions spent on research, these are basically the same options we had 50 years ago. Essentially, the basic treatment of cancer has not changed for many years. Orthodox treatments for cancer can be brutal and expensive, but in the face of scientific medical evidence are the best we have. Solid information on alternatives is confusing, contradictory, unproved, and unsupported by current medical models. Many medical doctors view alternatives or complementary approaches with doubt. Those that do endorse them do so mainly because they might enhance the patient's quality of life or contribute to palliative care, palliative, relieving pain or alleviating a problem without dealing with the cause. Many complementary and alternative practitioners point out that allopathic cancer treatments are only palliative because they treat effects without looking at causes. An example is using painkillers to take away a headache. Although it is highly useful and very convenient, it is no guarantee that the headache won't reoccur. Similarly, the orthodox treatment of cancer is more concerned with treating the disease than the patient. How does it start? In cancer, a cell, or group of cells, loses touch with where it is in the scheme of things, its synergy, and starts replicating for itself. The word synergy comes from the Greek synergos, meaning working together. Synergy is the interaction of two or more agents, that produces a combined effect greater than the sum of their separate effects. In this case, us. All the cells in a healthy body work together to give us life. They exist as unique individual cells in their own right, but also have a higher function, contributing to the life form of which they are part. Every one of the 2,000 billion cells in our bodies has as many working parts as a passenger airliner, so it is quite usual for some of these cells to suffer damage. We all have the potential for cancer. Even a healthy body carries about 10,000 malignant cells, and a fully functioning immune system will remove them. But what do cells get that change them, click them out of the whole system of our body to become selfish and self-replicating? Some doctors refer to this simply as insult. What happens when you insult a cell so often it gets upset? Just like you or I might do, it gives up on the host and sets out for itself. Our consumer culture is presently rich in ways for us to insult ourselves and stress them without us even realizing. The growth begins when oncogenes, controlling cell growth and multiplication, in a cell or group of cells are transformed by carcinogens. Cell insult often starts with free radicals, which are unstable atoms or molecules produced by the body as part of its natural defense against disease. Sometimes the body overreacts in its production of these and produces more than it needs. Recognized stressors that can spark overproduction include cigarette smoke, smog or pollution, too much ultraviolet light, illness or even too much exercise. Free radicals contain a negative charge that makes them highly reactive. As soon as they are produced, they start looking for other molecules with positively charged particles. The reaction they have on meeting is called oxidization, and this reaction can have a harmful effect, damaging the DNA inside cells or cell membranes and opening the door for cancer. When a cell is changed into a tumor-forming type, the change in its oncogenes is passed on to all offspring cells. Hence a small group can become established and then start dividing rapidly. Usually these cells give up on their normal specialized task in the body and escape from normal controls such as bodily hormones and nerves. Cancer has no regard for the condition of its host, only the success of its own growth. It is anti-synergistic and a parasite to the body, consuming nutrients and contributing nothing. It converts the energies around it to its own use and blocks any attacks by suppressing the body's own immunity. This immunity self-attack is an emerging pattern in modern diseases. Cancer cells interact with each other and cells around them. They affect the growth of cells nearby and elsewhere in the body. They change the immune system to benefit themselves. They can avoid or destroy normal body defenses such as lymphocytes. They can even persuade the body to grow new blood vessels to feed a tumor. Cancer cells move seemingly at will around the body, dissolving the glue of healthy cell walls to pass through and set up camp elsewhere, creating metastases, secondary growths, seemingly anywhere. It is a highly complex disease with over 100 definable types and many variables within each. Cancer is a form of chaos that grows inside us. It is no wonder this most frightening and mysterious of diseases is immortalized in the dreaming mechanisms of our media. Movies such as the Alien series capitalize on our fears of something unknown and unwanted growing inside us. Cell insult happens in a number of ways, and if the right conditions for cancer exist, it will start to grow through cell multiplication. Once the cancer growth gets going, and the conditions that engendered it are still present, the growth continues at various rates, depending on the host and what they provide. Cancer grows best in an pH acid body with lots of glucose, oxygen and easily accessible nutrients. Even with immortal cell replication, it can take many years before a cancer becomes noticeable. 1 million cells together create only a small growth. Diagnosis is still difficult at this stage as there may not be any visible evidence of cancer. Cancer is a word that brings extreme and intense fear to anyone who hears it. It doesn't have to be the person who receives the diagnosis, it can impact everyone in the circle of influence. My life has never been hit with cancer, but several members of my family and circle of close friends have experienced the diagnosis in their own life. I remember hearing the words from my dad that my cousin had cancer at the age of 16. She and I were born in the same month of the same year, so we were very close in age, but not close in relationship. The news impacted my family, and my cousin started to really speak of the condition. She lost her hair and stayed in the marching band as long as she could. I remember her coming to my wedding shower and seeing how frail and weak she had gotten from the drugs. Cancer starts out with a diagnosis and ends up causing a fear so intense that it sometimes seems that people who have had cancer for a long time, but never knew about it, take a quick trip downhill in body and soul, once they are alerted to cancer existing in their body. She fought a good fight but told her mother one day that she didn't want any more treatment, that she was tired and ready to go. Cancer is a condition that impacts the body's immune system, and as such it triggers all sorts of body responses. Modern-day medicine is revealing the power of placebo to treat cancer patients, and many new models of healing are being revealed daily. I think it is so important that people who are given the diagnosis of cancer also have emotion work done to circumvent the fear and the effects of fear on the body system. My cousin has a scholarship fund now set up where she attended school called the Page Foster Scholarship, and it goes to the student who excels in both music and academics. She truly was a hero in my eyes. If you have been diagnosed with cancer, Please try to imagine your life without the disease. Take some time and deeply visualize your blood cells happy and free. Feel into the concept that you can heal yourself with the good vibrations and thoughts of your mind, and know that you have choices when cancer has been presented into your life.